Coming back for a second time, a very good friend of mine, an old, very old friend of mine of over 30 years. It's great to see his face again. Stevie Richards. Stevie, Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Mike. Yeah, I just stick to Stevie because Mike and Mike would be, it's a little too confusing for most people. But man, I am happy to be here. I'm happy to see you all the time. I'm always happy to see you. More than anything, I'm happy to be alive, be upright, and be able to function. So it's been a long road to recovery, a long one ahead, but it's all good, man. I am just gratitude is going to be like the theme throughout this entire video that we're going to do.
How are you feeling these days?
I feel good. I feel good. My energy level is still, I would say, only about 25% of what it once was. I don't know if that's 51 going to be 52, hitting the wall there, or a combination of everything. But my energy runs out. But guess what? Just like anything else, like it's quality over quantity. You know what I mean? I'm not going to burn like the candle at both ends. I'm gonna when I'm able to have the energy, I maximize that and really spend my energy wisely on what I need to do. So it's a good lesson all around, but it's gonna be a long road. My spine is still naturally fusing. My workouts are pretty much okay, except for hip hinging and stuff like that, where I have to kind of watch my lower back. Taking bumps probably won't help, but I don't think I'm going to be taking those anytime soon either. But no, no, man, it's been great. I mean, it still sticks with me. It's not like I've forgotten what has happened just a short few months ago, but definitely doing a lot better. Thank you.
One thing I really want to talk to you about that I have no idea. Talk to me. I want to talk about some of the big shows you were a part of, like ECW. It's one thing to be part of a pay per view, but what was it like being part of the first pay per view they ever ran? Like, what was the preparation like the day of, the month of? Were there pay per view people there overseeing things? Like, how did it actually work? The first ECW pay per view.
Well, I do remember that this was the first exposure to me getting to the building earlier than we've ever gotten to the building. So I would always try to get to the building early, but I was traveling with Raven, which meant most times we got there right at 7:30. But if we were to get there before the show, it would be between 5:30 and 6:30, just like an independent show before bell time, try to sell gimmicks at the merch table, stuff like that. This here was a 3 to 4 o'clock call time, which is still later than most, like TV and pay-per-view days in WWE were anywhere from 11 to 1 p.m., depending upon the time zone. But I do remember that, and I do remember that extra time of trying to think now, like, and realize there's a satellite truck out there. There's different lighting. It's a bigger production. Although I don't believe we had more cat. We had, Charlie and God, I can't forget the guy. I'm sorry, I forget the other guy's name. But we basically had the two same camera guys. We still had Joey on commentary all alone. So there's a lot of still TV elements that we had, but now we had a satellite truck, we had lots more wires, and of course, we knew it was the first pay-per-view, so everybody was amped up. But I don't think everybody was amped up like you hear that and you think everybody's going to go out there and kill each other. Everybody's going to go out there and hit each other even harder because now it's pay-per-view. I think we always tried to work best and knew this was just the beginning and we weren't going to kill each other because we still had to wrestle. Some of us had to wrestle an independent show the next day in Pittsburgh for, say, Norm Connors, or over here for Jersey where we worked on the indies. So we still had to kind of work the next day. So it was a good balance, what I remember. But we were nervous. And personally, me, I remember I verbalized that I talk about it in interviews. I'm sitting there with Sandman and Terry Funk. We're going over very skeleton. Like we didn't go over every spot. We just went over like maybe 3 or 4 things, and then everything else, even Sandman throwing the trash can at the back of Terry's head from the floor. No, especially Terry didn't know that was going to happen. So, we were talking and Terry said, "Well, how you feeling, Stevie? What are you thinking?" I said, "What the hell am I doing here?" You got Tommy Dreamer, you got all these people that I felt deserved to be in the main event spot before me, but Paul felt like I was a good cog in that three-way dance, so I was grateful, but I was also very mystified as to what was I doing in this spot as a 24-year-old kid.
How far out did you know you were working that match?
Weeks, because everything in the storyline we had planned. It was very there was a lot of notice that this was going to be a three-way dance. Now we didn't know who was going over. That was a toss up until, and I was like, Terry's got to go over. Terry's got to go over, and Terry's got to be Raven. But there was, from what I know, nobody ever said anything to me, but there was a half a breath where it was like, do we swerve the fans and does Stevie go over, which would have led to probably a heel turn because everybody, including myself and Sandman, wanted Terry to be the world champion because it was the best thing for business.
Right, right. Not asking dollars and cents. Normal pay, more pay, any pay-per-view pay for ECW, or it's just a number?
Normal pay, which was low
Yeah,
pay but high opportunity.
right.
At that pay per view, literally cemented the BWO, cemented me as a serious worker to some extent. Half shirt Daisy Duke, she can only go so far taking me seriously, but it was definitely something that, like, you might say, well, you didn't get paid a whole lot, but we're still talking about it at the end of 2023. So the payoff, the signings, the cards, the merch, the video game, that barely legal pay-per-view springboarded all three of us, me, Nova, and Meanie, into kind of immortality with the fans and with a merchandise or a marketing standpoint. So I can't complain about the actual pay from that actual day.
Any certain special rules that day? Any things you could or couldn't do because it was pay-per-view?
Not that I know of, but the boys all wanted everybody to shine in their own light. We didn't want to overdo. Sabu and Taz had their blood feud. Then you have, Shane Douglas with the Pit Bulls, that blood feud there. There was lots of things that were there. And then, of course, our story around Terry Funk and the layers, and then Sandman doing what Sandman does as an awesome special attraction. I think everybody naturally knew to stay in their lane. Now everybody did, like, you might say, well, there's a lot of TDTs, there's a lot of this, a lot of that. You can split hairs, but I think each and every match stood out as its own little universe, and maybe unintentionally, but we all understood our part.
Compare ECW papers. See, I'm fascinated by this. I might edit this part out. I'm fascinated by this stuff because there, I got to do some cool stuff, sure, on a small level. I never got to. I've
Stop.
never been to a paper.
Let's stop
No,
you
no,
right there. I got
no.
to
But
stop you right. Stop it, because no, and we're going to leave this in. I need to tell you, Mike, what an incredible worker you were, and probably could still be if you decided to get back in the ring. You knew how to work. Guys like Crowbar know how to work. You and Crowbar, as Team Extreme, that was the name, correct? You guys had a niche. Now, because it was essentially a fake subjective business where someone's opinion determined, you worked just as hard, Crowbar worked just as hard, I worked just as hard, as people got pushed more to me. It was just up to someone else's decision of yay or nay. And the timing was everything. I showed up. I kept showing up. I kept showing up, and I kept volunteering to do things nobody else wanted to do. And it just happened to work out at that time. So don't sell yourself short about lower or higher. It's just the boys. We started out at the same level, and then it was just literally someone's opinion, someone looking at me and looking at you. They could have just as easily, you and Crowbar could have got every opportunity that I was blessed with. So it's just a crapshoot. There's tons of people that make it way too soon, and there's tons of people that never make it that should have. Sorry, I don't mean to lecture you, but I get
that
up on
means
the
a lot.
smart board and point out how awesome you were.
That, that,
I'll put you in the underrated playlist on the YouTube channel. I will do that now.
thank you, buddy. Oh, thank you, buddy. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Well, what I'm saying is that I never had a chance to even show up to a pay-per-view. So the questions I'm asking for everybody, but I'm also because I want to know this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I love learning when I do this stuff. Yeah, people tell their stories, but there's some things that I've always wanted to know. So this is pretty cool for me.
Anything you want to know,
So
man. If I don't know, I'll tell you, but I'll do my best.